Hello again, and welcome back to the review with Heather's Passion Academy. That is, I'm Heather, and I'm reviewing. Uh, what show is this again? The Never Ever Mets, and this is season one. Oh my goodness, it's just season one, episode 6. Again, we'll be doing reviews from a lot of our own shows on Netflix, whatever else that we feel like reviewing here. This episode is called Pushing Beds and Boundaries. Y'all, I had to watch this maybe 3 times, was like a minimum of 3 times, and I probably still didn't get everything in this episode because there was a lot going on. There's a lot these couples again are a lot. So let's just go ahead and get into the review, y'all. So again, this episode opens up where it left off last time, which was Aaron and Diamond's sister Irene arguing back and forth. Aaron being super disrespectful, Irene being just as disrespectful, matching his energy. Aaron calls Diamond's sister a bitch. And I think that's really where it really took off. Um, it was a lot going on. You know, Diamond and his friend, I can't even remember his friend's name because I don't even know. They were trying to, de-escalate the situation. Neither one of them were ready to de-escalate the situation. The ladies were doing their own thing. It was a lot happening in this episode. So, wow. Now, Diamond tried to de escalate and talk to Aaron a little bit, but we all know Aaron actually think he is, the guru or whatever. She lets him know that she thinks both of them are wrong. Aaron really has a disrespect problem. I don't, he's also 51 and he seems to always want to spar with everybody or have the last word on everything. And I don't know why he decided to proclaim himself like the, head person in charge of this situation, but he's flying off the handle way too much for my comfort when it comes to arguing with other women, just always having an opinion about something that nobody asked him about. He just got a problem. And then you got the producers having to step in and deal with this issue. Irene is like, listen, I'm ready to go. The producers try to, convince her to stay a little bit longer. Millie didn't try to help diffuse the situation. I don't know, y'all. It's a lot happening with them, and we know that there's a lot that happened behind the scenes with them because of them having a blowout on social media. Um, Diamond's sister probably does have a point. Like she's telling her, it's a lot of things that y'all got to work out. I just don't trust him. He said his problem is she heard the sister, he heard the sister say she can do better. And you know what? The reason why he's upset about that is because there's truth to it. And so he's keep trying to apologize and like, oh, we just need to focus on us. And I'm like, girl, Diamond, you could just walk away right now and just, you know, just wipe your hands clean of this. Just wash your hands of him because he's too much. At this point, the friend had gone into the kitchen, kind of like, hey, what y'all doing? Because I mean, he don't even know why he there at this point. Anyway, they both end up leaving, and we got to move on with the next situation. So you got in the kitchen here, you got the everybody's hanging out in the kitchen. We see Chris and Sandia, who seem to be in a better place once they've talked to the therapist. They're a little more flirty and touchy with each other. They walking past each other, touching each other's butt and bumping shoulders. And you know that those are signs that people are starting to get a little bit more flirty with each other. That's common. That's what couples do, especially when they have a little sexual tension. This happens when, and I think they've been together, what, 3 months now. So, at this point, they've gotten to know each other for a solid week. And this is not just a week of talking. This is just, 24 hours of getting to know each other. So anytime you're in a concentrated situation like that, you're going to get to know each other a lot faster, a lot quicker. So they're kind of ready to get things going. But the biggest I guess the biggest roadblock they have right now is when they are booed up in the room together. They have a little friend there by the name of Aaron, who is also trying to be up in the room. And he and Jody have decided they're going to sleep separately. However, the problem is Chris and Sandia are laid up in the bed together. And for me, I would feel a little awkward laying up in the bed by myself and seeing a couple all booed up. It would bother me. We're definitely I know that when the lights are out, things get to happening and everything. And you don't, unless you're okay with being in the room, most people want their privacy. And I think that Aaron has to be more cognizant of the fact that he is becoming a third wheel in the room. Now, I don't know the layout. Let me put myself on camera for this. I don't know what the layout is in this house. I would suspect, though, that there are several bedrooms. I know production is there, and I know they use parts of the houses and things for different things, and they only have certain parts that they want to show. But again, this is a production issue. Like, the rooms are so huge, but you had to know that if you brought 7 couples, that at some point those 7 couples are probably going to want to pair off into different rooms, and nobody wants to have to sacrifice any more privacy than they already are sacrificing by being, televised and having cameras in the rooms. But now you got a third wheel there. Like, y'all, when I say these people ain't thought this show through, they ain't thought it through. I don't know, but they should have a room for people who want to just, the boom boom room wasn't gonna be enough. It just wasn't gonna be one room, one use, and it's kind of gross. Y'all gotta make some changes. Make some changes. Y'all. Yeah, so it's kind of getting weird, you know. Um, we know that everybody at some point wants to be touchy feely. And again, this isn't a dorm room, so it's time to move along with the next phase of these relationships. Now it's the next morning, and we see that Jody and Aaron, and this is where I forgot that Aaron is 27. So that may have something to do with some things because their prefrontal cortex don't seem like it's kicking in at all. Um, they are up and talking, and I suspect it's about some of the conversations they've had with the other people in the house. And they're talking about why they haven't been intimate yet because a lot of folks are like, everybody else is booed up and we don't even see y'all so much as holding hands or even getting close to each other. And she just feels like she doesn't have to explain herself to people in the home. But I'm going to just tell you what I see, because as much as I want to believe that this is definitely just respect and boundaries, I just don't feel as though Jody has any real attraction to Aaron. Um, he has resolved that he's just not going to upset her. He's going to respect her boundaries. And I think that's a great thing, to respect boundaries. Here's the other thing that I see. I don't think they've had as many in-depth conversations as to what their relationship will actually look like in person. I think she was way more comfortable with being cool with him, um, you know, off camera, through the computer, through the TV, through the phone. I think that being in person, um, she's just different. She says it's because of her past trauma. So now I get that past trauma will dictate how you interact with people. But one of the things that keeps sticking out in my mind about Jody is that she keeps talking about her love of sex. But when it comes to other things, when it comes to Aaron, she has some really strong boundaries as far as him touching her. I don't know if it's because she needs to warm up as much as I just don't think there is chemistry there. I think that both things can happen. I think you can respect someone's boundaries, but at the same time, they could give you more cues and more clues as to what's comfortable for them. I think that she has really friend zoned him since they have been in front of each other. And it was clear to me during their first date that she didn't really care for anything he said or did. I don't think that it's all about her trauma. I'm not going to negate or diminish what she's gone through, but I definitely can see that that may not actually be the reason why they are so apart. Like they seem to me like they would be great best friends, but not a couple. I just don't see it. So now this situation between Millie, Chris, Greg wanting Chris to have a conversation with Millie, Millie talking to Chris, Chris wanting to have a respectful conversation. I just never thought it was a good idea for the two of them to sit down and talk. One, we know that Millie don't like Chris. Okay. Two, we know that Chris don't like Millie. Three, I don't think there's anything that can be said between the two of them that can resolve anything that happened in the past episodes. Millie made it clear that she just doesn't like the way that Chris is because he pays way more attention to Jody than he does to Sandia. We all can see that there's, a level of attraction between the two of them, more so than the people that they brought with them. Um, I don't like the conversation between either one of them. I think Chris tried to have a conversation that was a little bit less confrontational, but knowing that Millie just ain't in a space where she can receive any information from him, I think that was a bad move. The other thing is Chris don't care for women. I don't care what y'all say that he's Haitian and everybody's saying that this is cultural and everything. Chris has a low opinion of women already, which that's my opinion. He wants women to behave in a certain way, and Millie is not the type of woman that's going to behave in that box. They try to keep having a conversation about, her calling him out of his name. For some reason that triggered her. I'm not gonna go into all that stuff, but it got loud real quick. you know, it became really problematic between the two of them to where they're yelling across the room at each other. And the problem with the people in this household is that they don't know how to help de-escalate situations really well, because these people are going from 0 to 60. Forget 10, they're going 0 to 100. You know, this just depending on the conversation and with who the conversation is with. So I don't see how you can resolve things with people who don't like each other and have already said don't talk to me and don't do these things or whatever. Plus you have a room full of men. In this case, you have a lot of men. I ain't gonna say a lot. Aaron, Big Aaron, that's how we call him. Big Aaron is misogynistic. um Chris is misogynistic. Little Aaron don't know where he stand. Josh just really want to be there with Shay. And Greg, I'm not Greg be checking out. So this isn't the room where you would have conversations, where you would have someone that knows how to de-escalate a situation without it seeming like you got to listen to your man. And everybody's tired. I'm so tired of hearing about this. Y'all just met. Everybody just met. But a lot of things were said. A lot of words were thrown. Um, we already had Sienna doing crazy stuff. Now Millie's taking Sienna's place with popping off. It's just not at her partner. Now, Sienna runs behind Chris. I don't have pictures of that. Sienna went behind Chris to help him calm down. And, basically, she's going to side with her man. She came back down to talk to Millie, and she was like, she just doesn't like when people call people out their names because that's just being disrespectful. I think that Sandia needs to stay out of that argument as well because she has blinders on when it comes to Chris. Like she gets upset with him, like how he because of the way that he talks back and forth with Jody. Like he loves him some Jody. And she has a problem with it, but she's not going to speak up too much for it because he's been invalidating her feelings. But the other ladies were saying, they don't really have a problem with Chris, I guess. And so Millie was saying that whenever she tried to talk to him, he tries to cut her off. Now Diamond says, I don't get that from him. And I'm just thinking, well, Diamond, maybe because you're a little bit older too. So everybody has this built-in type of respect factor when it comes to Diamond and Aaron. And again, I don't know why, because they haven't shown themselves to be, I don't know. Anyway, maybe it's just because they're older. So yeah, ain't nobody gonna too much do too many things, but all of these people who are around the same age are having a problem relating back and forth with each other. So I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, let's go on to the next scene because it's too much. It's team too much around here. Too much. So we see Aaron's dad, and I can't remember his dad's name. I thought I wrote it down somewhere. Oh, there it is. Matthew. So Aaron's dad comes to the house. He's the person that is coming for Aaron. Again, I don't know why family members and friends are coming to the house. Like, I don't see the purpose of this part of the experiment because they're only coming for seems like a couple of hours and then they're out. Like, know how, I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me what they're doing. Because I don't see how, talking to somebody over pool is going to all of a sudden shift the way you think, especially you're only really relating to the person that you came here for and not the person that they've met. Doesn't make sense to me. Anyway, I'm just glad to see a father and son on national television that happen to be black hugging, because for some reason people think that's weird and I don't, because you should be hugging your kid no matter how old they are. Anyway, he comes to the house and he's excited to see his dad. He shares with his dad that Jody is a sexologist, and the dad wants to know, okay, so that's interesting. What are your thoughts on it? And he says, well, it's sexy, but it's intimidating. So dad says, and from here on out, I'm just going to call him dad. Dad says, well, I think you may be overthinking it because, he's saying that Aaron says, well, I have concerns that, I may not hit the mark per se, as far as, being with someone that's a sexologist. And dad was like, well, I mean, how did you know what your people before liked and wanted? You listened to them and they told you what they like and you did it. So you would be doing the same thing with her. I see it as an opportunity for growth. And I guess he didn't see it that way, just simply because I guess, people get stuck on the term sexologist. I don't use sexologist. I use sexuality coach for myself. And I know that when I have conversations with people and tell them that, I am a sexuality and intimacy coach. I have a certification as a master sexologist and all those things. People tend to get a little weird. They do, because they think that you know everything there is to know about everything sex. And my thing is, like I tell them, I'm always looking to learn more, which is why I like to why I do these things, but I also can give you information that can help you. And it's not necessarily to try to be like, oh, well, this person must have better sex than everybody else, but maybe this person has more insight as to how to make things better and how to relate better to each other. So I want Aaron to not be so intimidated. And like his dad said, this may be an opportunity for him to learn more. Um, and hopefully, what he can see is that given the knowledge that she has, can help him explore and find things that work better for him and for them as a couple. We'll see, though. We will see. So Jody's friend comes in and they get right into it. Her friend's name is Cam, whichever one. Jody's friend, little blonde girl. She shares, of course, that the first date that they had was lacking some things. She just really wasn't pleased, and I'm like, this is rich coming from somebody that's sitting up eating hot chips and pickles together. But anyway, she wants to know if Jody and Aaron have taken their relationship to the next level. Jody says she's been taking her time because, once again, she says, I can be a man eater. And I just have issues with the way she's using this term because I really don't think she's saying, I don't think she's using the term in the way that I've been used to the term being used, she keeps talking in the way of like casual sex, I think, because she keeps saying, "Oh, I just love sex," and da 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 da. But I also think that what she's describing and what these other, when you say man eater, don't I just don't think that that's what she wants to say. I don't think that's the proper term that she needs to use for herself. I think the main problem between her and Aaron, again, is just that she's simply not attracted to him. And that's okay. It's okay to say, hey, we were great behind the screen, but actually in person, things don't look so good. I don't know. This ain't gonna work out. Anyway, so Aaron and his dad go into the kitchen and at this point, he's introducing his dad, and then here comes Big Aaron. And if you look at this man's face right here, everybody know Big Aaron just needs to shit up. He wants to tell his opinion of Jody. I don't like that. I think that he just needs to be quiet. I'm not a fan of Jody. Most of the people I know that watch this show is not a fan of Jody, but it's for other reasons. He wants to tell this man about, you need to see what I see. We about the same age and this and that and da 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 da. And he says, you know, she's supposed to be this sexologist, but they ain't having sex. And I'm like, this is an opportunity for you to stay out of other people's business. Stay out of people's business is not your job. Whatever they got going on works for them. Okay. It's not your job to say anything. We can say it as the people, watching a show and observing, to say, hey, I don't see that they have a lot of chemistry, but we're also not actively involved in the scenes or in the conversation that's going on right now. Look at this man. He just talking. He's just running his mouth. He just, ugh. So little Aaron's dad is like, why is that an issue? He's just like, well, you just need to see what I see. Listen, the main problem with a lot of young men is listening to older men that don't know what they're talking about. And I'm gonna say little Aaron's dad seems to have he seems to have a level head. Like he seems to have his head on straight, and he seems to be giving solid advice to his kids. So there's no need for them to co-parent when it comes to him. Just Big Aaron needs to go and figure out what's going on with him, and why he think being 51 is supposed to mean that everything. Because everybody has something to learn, and he just needs to sit down somewhere. Being older does not mean that you're wise. It just means you have more years. That's it. Anyway, I do like the way that little Aaron's dad sized up the conversation. He know this man ain't talking about nothing. And this, I just kind of feel that I'm a father figure. Nobody asked you for that. Nobody asked you. Stay out of people's business. Stay out their bedroom. Anyway, Jody comes into the kitchen to meet the dad. And then the four of them, Aaron, his dad, Jody, and her friend, go to sit down and have a bit of a chat. Of course, Jody's like, I'm sure you have heard unfavorable things about me. Dad says, well, I, I don't know if they're unfavorable, but people will try to force their opinions onto others, and that's not cool. It's a little stupid. Jody's friend pipes up to say something about societal norms, think that people should be having sex or kissing, da da da. I don't know Jody's friend. I just think people just checking that they don't even spend time together like that. Um, that's it. That's all. The problem is they struggling to see the chemistry between them. Even though Big Aaron need to stay out their business, I don't think that we see that there's chemistry between them or that they actually want to be connected on a romantic level. They look like two good friends that are hanging out, that's having a good vacation. That's okay, but that's what it is. So, her friend gonna stick up for her. That's fine. So Aaron's dad asked about their confidence in the success of the relationship. And I think this is a solid question. And she says, well, if there's no outside influences, it could work. And I'm like, girl, as long as you outside are going to be outside influences. All of this is just to say, I feel, they get all kind of answers other than, well, we just need to get to know each other a little better. Right now, I'm not seeing, to me, you could have been straight honest and said, right now, I'm just not seeing it. And we just gonna see. We gonna see is solid. Anyway, Dad says, I feel like you could trust him a bit more, and she agrees. So they're getting ready to leave, and Dad says, oh yeah, well, I heard that you're a good salsa dancer. And she was like, yeah, if you're a good lead, I'm a good follower. And I'm like, girl, okay. Aaron, your daddy finna take your lady. Let me show you. So they push the tables back and they do a little bit of dancing. Look at that. Look how much energy she got right there. Look at that. Look at the energy. I'm just saying, they push the table back, and all of a sudden she springs into action being excited. She has all that energy for your daddy, Aaron. She got all that energy to talk to Chris, Aaron. She got all that energy. But when it comes to you, it's like, don't touch me. Don't look at me. Don't look at me. Don't look at me. Look at this. Your daddy dipped your lady friend. Come on now. Look at this. Look at how her eyes done lit up and how excited she is. Yes. She's like, thank you. I needed that. And her friend said, yes, she needed the reset, ma'am. She don't need a reset. She needs somebody that she likes. Anyway, I like Aaron's dad because he did give good advice and he wasn't shook by what Big Aaron had to say, because we all know Big Aaron need to go sit down somewhere. Just need to sit down somewhere. So the next day, Big Aaron, Greg, and Chris are outside in the hot tub, and Greg asks Aaron, share a little bit about your relationship, and of course he starts to start with it. That little hand gesture right there, the 50 plus. I'm getting ready to teach y'all youngin stuff. That whole stance right there bothers me. I know and that because you still can learn from other people. And he's like, oh, nobody's perfect, but she perfect for me. I'm like, Aaron, you proposed to someone else while you were supposedly in a relationship with this woman. That's why her sister don't like you. Please go to hell. Just go to hell. Chris is like, is there, so you mean tell me there's nothing you don't like about her? And he's like, that's what I'm saying. Chris like, I don't know about that. I ain't buying it. I don't want to agree with Chris. Let me just be clear. I don't want to agree with Chris. And y'all making me agree with Chris. This is crazy. He is like, listen, I don't know about that. But you know what? He talking about proposing to Diamond by the end of the experiment. And I mean, I guess if you like it, I love it. And I guess if she like it, whatever. But these folks definitely need to be sitting on the couch because It's just too much. Let's go to the next scene. All right, so they're cooking. They sitting with Shay. Shay like, let me go check on the cooking and stuff. And I guess that was to set up this scene. Millie pulls Greg to the side and like, listen, I want to tell you a little bit about my past trauma. And she feels, and she pretty much just explains why she's always popping off and on a 10 and, you know, what happened to her, you know, the experience of her SA that happened. You know, and so she's talking about she, you know, ends up going off on a 10 a lot of times because she doesn't feel safe. And he's telling her, I'm sorry that happened to you. She's not looking, she's looking off and everything. He's looking down. There's a lot can be said just with their body language here that he's uncomfortable hearing about some things. I feel like, he looks off because maybe there's something going on as far as maybe he's trying to listen, but also trying to disengage. I don't know. There's a lot happening. I got a feeling that there's something that Chris says or he looks a certain way and that triggers her. I think that's what's happening with that situation because he just really gets under her skin. She doesn't like the way that he talks to her. She said that. But Greg says, let me be there for you, basically. And she's like, I don't need a man for anything. Oh, look at him. He's trying to hold her hand and really trying to reassure her that he's there for her. And she's kind of pushing him away. Like, I don't need nobody. He's like, everybody needs somebody, and true, everyone needs someone. I hope they get it together. This next scene should have been uncomfortable for them. The men decided to have a conversation. So Big Aaron, of course, again, running his mouth, wants to let everybody know that, at first they had the men's on one end and the females in another. I don't like it when a man says female. First of all, if you say men, then there are women. Now, if you say male, then say female. I do not like it when people use the word females to describe women, especially Black women. We are women. We are female humans, but we are women, ladies, anything like that. But no, don't come calling them females. I hate that. I just hate it. And he too old for that mess. I always correct people when they say females because, ugh, ew. So he says, the couples are gone. There's a little bit more room. It's not a reason why anybody want to be in a room with the person they're there for. He's basically trying to set it up that, letting Aaron know that he's becoming a third wheel in the room with Chris and Sandia. And then he said, folks trying to get all lovey-dovey, and then they hear someone farting and they just kind of look at Aaron. And so, Chris lets him know that they're all trying to create a dynamic of everyone being in a room with their girl. And he kept saying he and Jody discussed respect and boundaries. So I get that part. And again, this is where I'm having an issue with where are the extra rooms in the house, because there has to be. This house is not small, so I'm sure that some of these rooms can be turned into other rooms, especially with one of the bedrooms being off in the little villa. I'm sure it's a 2-bedroom villa over there. I don't know, but I'm just saying this is getting weird. So they're trying to show like how Chris and Sandia be trying to be all up on each other, but Aaron be over there hanging out. So they decide that they're going to move some beds. And they said, let's get this stuff moved. And they're like, how are we going to move the beds? Well, they move those beds, which I don't understand because they all look the same. Why not just leave the beds where they are? Anyway, so they get up and they move the beds. And again, I don't know who chose all these twin XL beds that they got to push together. But I just think, why not think out that the couples maybe at some point want to be with each other and not just have one boom boom room? Why not make sure that at some point those, they got 75,000 beds. Why not push those beds together for them, and say, well, okay, now we have a room for if the people want to be a little bit more cozy. We have these rooms, you know, I don't know. I think they just flying by the seat of their pants at this point. So they move the couples, they move him out of their room, basically. They like, you can go in there and lay in her bed with Jody. Uh, since she in there by herself, why don't y'all pop up in there? And so that's what they do. They move them out. So we see that, you got Greg, Chris and Sandia are finally by themselves. Josh and Shay been by themselves because they over there in the boom boom room. And Greg and Millie over there. So I don't know where Aaron and Diamond are in that situation. And what's the other couple? Aaron and Diamond and whomever. And so I'm just wondering, what's going on with this. Well, I guess I'm not wondering. They're wondering what's going on with this. So at this point, he and Jody are now in the dorm room, which is what I call it, with all them beds lined up. And they have, space between their beds. So she's in her bed, he's in his. And he said he couldn't sleep. So he decided to push his bed closer to Jody's while she's asleep. And the next morning they wake up because she wants to know what happened, because he tried to kiss her the next morning when she woke up, and it put her on defensive. And okay, so that's a boundary cross, because especially if she's asleep and she didn't know that he pushed the beds together, that's just like him jumping in the bed with her without her knowledge or consent. So that can be a problem. He says, well, I allowed my ego to get the best of me. And I really think that those conversations needed to be had privately before, I just think it's a lot of layers in this situation. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. I'm at 37 minutes and this thing was only an hour long. Goodness. Woo, y'all. Okay. So let me speed this up. So Josh, Shay, Chris, and Jody are in the kitchen together. Josh ooh, girl. Josh asked Jody, did she hear about the conversation between the guys with Greg, peer pressure, and Aaron regarding their situation? Then she talks a little bit and shares with them about why she doesn't want to be touched in her sleep, why she doesn't want to share everything with everybody, and, about her past SA. And so she says this is why she became a sexologist. She feel like she can help others. And let me tell you, the reason why I became a sexuality coach and intimacy coach is growing up in very, very conservative Christian backgrounds and everything. One of the things they don't teach you about is sex. And what I tell folks all the time is I think that's really bad, because how do you get new little Christians if the older Christians aren't having sex? And we don't talk about those things. And I feel like there's a lot of things I could learn about things. And I did learn a lot, but I was also able to share it with the community of people who may not be able to be receptive from someone else, but somebody growing up in that background may be able to share things with them and actually educate them in ways that they hadn't been educated. So I get that. I can relate to that part. So Chris, said he didn't know that was a thing. He felt bad because Erin did speak up for her boundaries, and admits that it's partially the guy's fault why they moved those beds. So, she was like, I just want to work on a pace that makes sense. And then she says she's heavy on respect. I don't know if Sandia feels the same way, because Sandia feel like she is creeping in on her relationship. So whatever. Moving on, because we're close to the end, Millie and Greg are talking to Dr. Allie about previous traumas and expectations of relationship, which I thought this is a great thing. I love the way that Dr. Allie was clarifying questions and making space for Millie to talk, and she talks about how she's triggered from things and goes from 0 to 10. Dr. Allie asks her if there are some things that residually are still there. Greg says, well, sometimes she gets to a 9.5, and Dr. Allie lets him know that when she's upset, she's really kind of redoing that trauma, and she can, she's really in the midst of all that. And he can help diffuse by paying attention to cues like her touching her hair. She notices that when she starts to talk about her trauma, she starts to touch her hair. But she also notices that Greg disconnects a bit because he said, yes, it's due to him experiencing trauma. Millie got upset because she feels like, you don't know how to respond to me. And Dr. Alley says to them, I feel like I'm seeing two traumatized people who can't be there for each other because they need to be there for themselves. And I think that is very spot on. I like Dr. Alley. This episode ends with Dr. Alley asking Greg to share a little bit about his trauma. So we'll see how that happened. uh what happened to him has affected him in the way that he relates to Millie. Y'all, these episodes ain't getting no better. There's a lot of healing that needs to take place, and these people got too much going on in their lives to be worried about a show like this. you know I just think that they did better hiding behind a computer than before meeting up with each other, y'all. Again, I want to thank y'all for watching the show. Thank you again for being part of this review. I know it was long this time. It happens. Sometimes, even though the show is an hour long, there's a lot to talk about in between that hour's time. And I like to really dig into the parts where I, as a sexuality coach, can see things that maybe need to be brought to light. So yes, I try to keep it under 30 minutes, but sometimes we're going to dig a little deeper, and I just hope that y'all are okay with that. Now, if you really like this video along with others, feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments. Please like this channel, like the show, subscribe to the channel, and share it with a friend. And if you have any ideas you'd like for me to talk about, because I will be coming to you with some topics as a sexuality coach that has to do with some of the things that we've seen in the shows, I would be grateful for that. Thank you guys again. And I will see you all in the next video. Take care.